So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to get some of the best items early in Assassin's Creed Shadows. This includes some of the best legendary weapons for both Yusuke and Noe, requiring very little to no fighting at all to get both of them. I'll also share some huge major tips and tricks I missed early on that will get you the perfect start to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Without wasting any more time, let's jump right on in. First things first, I'm going to show you how to get the Igan Sunset. This is a legendary Tanto for anyone who's going to be using Noe early on, which we all will, and this is very good for the shinobi path as it really gives you a ton of benefit whenever you're using escape strikes. So just north of the hideout, you're going to be heading there to this question mark here, and this is called Tezuku's Lair. Now within this lair is a combination of very low level enemies. They're about level 5 I believe at this point. Once you dispatch all these guys from the house to the left, there's a loot chest here that has the legendary Tantos as well as the engraving, and if you're not aware, whenever you get the weapon you get the engraving, you can use it across multiple different pieces of gear. Next I'm going to be showing you how to get the Amaterasu's Blessing. This is a legendary trinket that comes with an engraving that gives you 10% damage per unused ability slot. Early on you're probably not going to pick up too many skills, maybe 1, 2 if you have enough, and for the most part you'll always have some percent damage increase until you get more skills. And if you opt to go with a build that doesn't require any form of skills, like a pure assassin build, this will be very perfect for those builds. Now in order to get this item you need to go to the Old Kofun. The Old Kofun cave is east of Sakai major city, and within this place you'll find a little cave entrance here that will lead you inside. For the most part, this is one of the more straightforward puzzles in the game, or at least one of the straightforward like cave exploration locations, and you can just follow what I do here on screen. I'll have it fast forward through so you can kind of see the route. And at the end, you open the chest and you have Amaterasu's Blessing. And this one is a pretty nice one. Once again, if you're not utilizing a ton of skills, as you're going to get 30% damage when you don't have any ability slotted in. Next, let me show you how to get a legendary katana for Yusuke. This only requires you to head over to the Eagle's Nest. You can go there at any time and pretty much just make your way up the hill all the way until you find this little pond here that will have it in a legendary chest. Generally speaking, you shouldn't run into anything unless there's like some form of patrol that you can easily just avoid. They won't generally attack you unless you just stand next to them. And once again, this is another legendary sword that's going to be really good for Yusuke, especially for some early builds whenever you actually unlock him and can start playing him. Finally, I'm going to show you one more legendary Tanto. Sorry, I know there's a lot of Tantos in this one, but this one is actually too good to not tell you about. And this one is going to be located in Nanjo's cave. Now this is a very good Tanto that gives you the ability to afflict enemies with poison fairly easy, and it comes with probably one of the best perks you're going to see for a very long time. Afflicted enemies are vulnerable, and she has some pretty insane synergies with vulnerability, and being able to afflict it and like just get it freely is pretty big. Now this one isn't actually too far away from whenever you pick up Yusuke's greatsword. This is just north of the Eagle Nest, and it's called the Ancient Tomb of Nanjo. Should be fairly easy to get to. With that in mind, this is a tomb that's really annoying to go through, so you're just going to follow what I'm doing on screen. Now the major goal here while you're navigating this cave is to just go wherever you see all the horses, because if you go the other way it sends you all the way back to the beginning. And keep in mind this cave is actually pretty deep. It took me a while to get through, so just follow what you see me doing on screen and you'll be able to get to it very easy. Once you get to this little crack here, you see the legendary chest. you can easily pick this bad boy up, and this one again is going to be very synergistic with a lot of her builds. Affliction build up, vulnerability build, and things of the sort. Is actually one of my favorite and most used Tantos so far in the entire game. Alright, next let me give you some really key base tips that is going to help you really early from mistakes that I made that you definitely need to know. So first things first, you're going to be forced to build the Turqouise. This is a more than fine building, but the main thing you need to do after you build this is to upgrade your stables to level 2. What this is going to do essentially is make it so that you can tag more things with your scouts. You're going to initially only be able to tag one set of items because it's going to require 2 scouts and you're going to have a max of 3. When you get this upgrade, it's going to make it so that you can actually tag it with 1 each, giving you the grand total of 3 tags per route. Now initially you're going to have to go look for resources to get this first upgrade on the stables, but when you go into your Turqouise, there will be a little box here that's going to give you the ability to pick up some very easy missions. Each of these missions are going to give you resources, but the most important ones are going to be the ones for base building. Once you pick up the quest for the base building, I would highly recommend, once you actually start doing open world, that you go do these quests and then get the forge and start upgrading from there. I have a full-fledged video on the channel that's going to be going over this a little bit more in depth, so make sure you go check that out if you want to know how to make the best hideout possible. But the key things early on is to do everything I said here and you'll be able to have a really good start, no problem. Alright guys, let's talk about some open world elements that are super important that you need to know because they are going to contribute to giving you a ton of benefits. First things first, let's talk about shrines, prayer shrines, and just knowledge points as a whole. As you navigate through the world, you will notice these shrines just kind of sitting here that you can pray to. It has a very small animation time that you need to go through, but it's going to offer you a plethora of buffs that's going to help you throughout your missions. Some of the buffs that you can get is bonus damage to armor, increased damage, maximum HP, increased crit chance, more armor piercing, and a few others. If you don't like the buff, you can continue to pray and get the thing that you personally desire, but for the most part, just make sure you always have one of these buffs. And later on in your hideout, there's actually an upgrade that will make this last for much longer and give you a better benefit, so make sure you're always taking advantage of these shrines if you run next to them. There's also normal shrines just like the one you see on screen now, and this one is one that's going to give you knowledge points. Now the significance of knowledge points is it's going to make it easier for you to actually upgrade your character. So as you can see on screen now, I have 5 different slots of knowledge unlocked. That's because I've been actively doing knowledge, and this is usable across all your different skills. So you'll notice your knowledge rank on the left, and this will indicate your current rank in knowledge, and make sure you're actively doing the side stuff because this is going to be the best way to actually take advantage of the mini skill points that you're going to get. A few more rapid fire things to note: icons like this one, whenever you unlock Yusuke, will also give you knowledge points and unlock different weapons. Prayer shrines will also give you knowledge points and experience. They're a little annoying in the minigame that you have to do, but definitely worth doing. And for the most part, doing collectibles and things around the map is actually going to be very beneficial to make your character much more stronger, so make sure you're doing it. Now one thing that is super important that I do a lot of to really give myself a jump start in experience is pretty much just killing everyone I see. Whenever you're navigating around the world, you'll notice that in a lot of cases there's always soldiers. I typically hold right click as I'm running around because this is going to not only highlight enemies, and actually does have some synergies later if you have some buffs, but it essentially points out every single enemy that is an enemy and give you the ability to highlight them. Now fairly early on you can get the double assassination perk for Noe, and I would highly recommend that you pick a lot of things up in the assassination tree. And when you're navigating around the world, you will notice that so many enemies are kind of clumped up and standing next to each other, and you should just try to assassinate them at all times. The reason for this is simple. You're always going to be getting residual experience, and if you're running around the world, running around different towns, and you are able to assassinate them, it only requires a quick button click, and in a lot of cases like a 3-second animation to give yourself some easy experience and loot. Now for my last tip, and this one may actually be a little bit obvious, but the game is called Assassin's Creed Shadows, and that's for a very good reason. In a lot of cases, you'll be lurking in the shadows and you'll notice a lot of lights around the world. Assassin's Creed Shadows actually did a really good job of implementing the stealth mechanic like they did in older games. And when you're playing Noe, which you're probably going to be stealthing with most of the time, and if you extinguish fires, you'll be way more hidden and more capable of just assassinating enemies. Again, the game is Assassin's Creed Shadows, and you definitely should be taking advantage of the shadows. Now I did want to end this one off with a few rapid fire things that I did want to point out that may be slightly important. First off, you should always be running around in focus mode. When you're holding right click, you're able to just see the whole world and like different loot and tags and things of the sort. And that's probably going to be your best tool as you're just navigating around the world. Another tip is whenever you're going to your Kakarega, make sure you're always refilling your tools as well as your scouts. These things cost a bit of money, but they are worth it whenever you're tagging different locations. This castle, for example, has high wealth, and if you tag things in this castle, you'll get a lot of extra resources as well, worth the cost of the scouts. And while locations like this one doesn't necessarily have a lot of wealth, generally speaking, your scouts cost is still well worth the resource cost that you're going to get to upgrade your base. So make sure you're always refilling those. That's actually a pretty big one. Last rapid fire tip, whenever you're playing Noe, make sure you pick up Smoke Bomb, pick up Shinobi Bell, pick up Shuriken, and these are all going to give you the ability to utilize all these individual tools. They cost very little points, but they give her a ton of utility. No matter what the build that you're doing, having these tools are still going to be valuable even if you're not investing in a tool master. And there you have it. That is everything you need to know to have a perfect start in Assassin's Creed Shadows early. These legendary items all are amazing. A lot of these techniques that I taught you is going to make it so that you have a really big advantage early on. And overall, if I had these techniques early on, I definitely would have had a much better start. Now, with that said, if you did enjoy the video, leave me a like as well as consider subscribing to the channel. Keep in mind, I cover every major release in 2025 and beyond. If you are someone who enjoys a lot of different games and a lot of major games, I definitely will be covering it here, so subscribe, show some support, and help the brand grow. And just like that, Assassins, I'll see you in the next video very soon.